Welcome to our session again. Today we'll be looking at formative assessment using Google Forms. All right, so our outcome for today is we will look at understanding why we assess before and during a lesson. We will also look at exploring Google Forms as a formative assessment, and we will then get into Google Forms and create a graded formative assessment. So why do we assess? We assess for multiple reasons. We assess so that learners can understand their learning behavior, so that we are able to identify invisible learning barriers to see if students are struggling in any way. So we'll also assess to see our impact in teaching and how we can improve our teaching approaches, or rather if our teaching approaches are working accordingly. And we also assess to increase opportunities for engagement with our student, to provide feedback and understand where our students stand with regards to their learning, and also to ensure that we continue learning. So we assess that we know that we continue learning, and to provide evidence of achievement, because students need to know how they are doing with their learning, and also to progress them to the next grade. And remember, with assessment, we give feedback and we provide, we get feedback, we also provide feedback. And also when we assess, we're trying to find ways to think out of the box, to find ways to improve their the learning. And if we can think beyond the classroom activities so that the students can improve in their learning. And overall, we assess the students' learning, how are they doing, and to understand how they're doing in terms of learning, in terms of behavior, are they understanding the content, and so forth. So I'd like to hear from you. Why do we assess before, during, and after a lesson? Why do we assess? What is Google Form? One way of assessing our students is using Google Forms. So Google Forms is part of the G Suite package, and it forms as a survey administration a tool or application, which allows for collaboration and sharing of feedback, as we were mentioning, and it can be used as a graded formative assessment when you select, or rather when you use Google Quiz. So Google Forms can be used as it can grade immediately with answer keys. It can provide students feedback, as well as yourself as a teacher, you get to see the feedback from your students. It can adapt and change as the student responses. So I will show you all those three things that Google Forms is able to do. Right, so with Google Forms, there is a wide range of templates that you could use. With us as the education space, we can use Google Form as an assessment, like we've mentioned. We can use it as an exit ticket. So maybe once we've done learning, we understand the content, we can use that as a course evaluation, and we could use it to collect contact information from our students, and as worksheets, as well as student feedback surveys. So you can select whatever way of using Google Form that suits your needs and your students. So now, before we create a Google quiz or Google Form, you need to prepare for your assessment. So you need to think thoroughly about what you'd like to achieve with your assessment. And once you have thought about that, you need to then put your questions in order. You need to arrange your questions so that you know that you have your questions ready and your answers ready. And then you need to think about the type of assessment that you want. And this can be a worksheet, a Google quiz, or anything that suits you. And then from there, you need to log into your Google account so that you could create your Google quiz. So how do you log into or how do you find Google Forms? So you can find Google Forms in your Google account, your personal Google account. So on your personal Google account, there is those dotted bullets for more options or more apps. That's where you will find forms. And then on Google Drive, once you access your Google Drive, you go to New, and then you'll see there's an option for Google Forms. And then we have another option of getting your Google Form on G Suite. I will demo that as I go. So you can find Google Forms on G Suite as well. So now, once you have found your Google Forms, you can create your form by selecting a blank quiz. So once you have selected your blank quiz, you will then see a blank quiz that will come across. From here, you will have to create, or rather to give your quiz a name. So in this instance, the name of this quiz is Biodiversity and Classification Assessment. This is how, when you enter the Google Form quiz, this is how it will look. And then from here, you are able to add your questions, right? So when you add your questions, you are able to mark it as required. Required meaning that a student cannot complete or cannot submit the quiz without answering that question. And you are also able to give an answer key to the question that you have given out. So if you give an answer key, what happens is you select the correct answer of your question, and then you give points to your question. So if it's 2 points, you mark 2 points, and then you give feedback. When you give feedback for the correct answer, and you can also give feedback for the incorrect answer. So there are different types of questions. So when you put in a questions, you are able to select your questions as a short paragraph, as a full paragraph, multiple choice, checkboxes, drop-down options. You can also upload files, and you could just create your questions in a way that suits you, right? And then when you upload a file, what happens is when your student respond, you are able to make sure that the respondents upload the files to your drive. That way you have access to the files that they have uploaded. But then I will show a demonstration of that in a short while. So there's a limit or a maximum of the file size, which is 10 megabytes. And you can also set to how many files they can upload. It could be 1 or 2. And you can also specify the type of files that you'd want to receive. All right. And then on your blank quiz, there are tabs there at the top that shows you your settings, that shows you a preview option, as well as a theme, right? And once you're there, when you go to your settings, you are able to set your Google Forms in a way that you would like it to be. You can set it that you want only one response per student, meaning that students cannot respond multiple times or try and copy from each other, because we do avoid them copying from each other. So if they respond once, they can't respond again. And for this to happen, the students need to sign in to their Google account so that you can monitor that. And then you are able to show the progress bar as they complete their assessment. So as they complete, it will tell them that the 70% or 20% complete, and so forth, right? So you're also able to see that your students can edit after submitting. You are able to give them that option where if they submit, they can able to log in again and edit what they have submitted. And then you can show link to another response if you are giving them multiple settings. And then on your quizzes, you would want to make sure that you release the grade immediately after each submission, or you could later, you could release their grades after you have manually reviewed. And with manual review, it works best with long paragraph or short paragraph answers. If you'd want them to type out their answer, then you'd want to release their grade later to review it. You are able to, the respondent are able to see their missed questions. So you make sure that they're able to see their missed questions. They're able to see which questions they got right and their points to the specific questions. Right. And once you have created your questions and they look good, you can create a theme for your quiz. You could upload a theme. It can be a logo of your school, or it could be a picture of the topic that you're talking about. You can browse and upload. You can select any theme that is available there. And then this is the final assessment that was created. But now I'm just going to demo how an assessment looks. Before we demo, is there any question?
There are no questions currently, Q, but we have a few comments from the question you asked in the beginning of the session.
All right.
We have one from Inaika. To know, she assesses to know how much learners' knowledge of topic. And then Daniel Naderson, assessment provides the information provided to identify and address learning barriers. We have another one from Toby Lenkosi. He assesses before to check the knowledge of your learners on a topic, during to see if they are with you following the lesson and you are not too quick for them, after to check if they understood the lesson. We had those 3 comments.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, I'm going to stop presenting and present again just to show you how to actually go about with Google Quiz. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share my entire screen. Right. So firstly, it's still loading. Okay, someone took over my screen. Okay, let me stop sharing. Okay, and share again. All right, share. Right, so firstly, how do we find Google Forms, right? So there's multiple ways of getting Google Forms. So you can go to your personal email. So this is my personal email, so my personal Gmail. And then from there, you can go here to the Google Apps and you select Google Apps. And once you're on Google Apps, you will scroll down and you will see Forms. Then from there, you will select Google Forms. And this is how it will appear. Like I've mentioned, you can go to the template gallery and see the different templates that are there, worksheets and so forth, the education sector, assessments and course evaluation. Or you could just go back and create a quiz. So you could just create a blank quiz. Right. So this is how a blank quiz will show. And lovely enough, Google does show you or gives you a way, like it takes you through a tour of how Google quizzes work. So you could just take a tour and see how it works. I will take a tour for you. I'll show you how it works. Right. So once you're here, firstly, you want to give your quiz a name. So you could just give it genetics test, right? And then from there, you can also give it a name here. You'll give it genetics test. And then you give a thorough description. We know that we can give 25% to a test, 10%. So you can let them know that this forms part of like the 25% of their test and so forth. So you get to explain on this description part what the test is about, what it forms, the importance of the test, so that the student knows that this is actually very important. I need to complete this test. And then you can go to your questions, untitled questions. On untitled questions, you will then type the type of questions you want, and then you select the question, the type of questions you want. So for example, we will select, most of the time with graded formative assessment, it will either need to be multiple choice or check boxes or drop down boxes, because you want to make sure once they complete the test, they have an answer, or they have answers to their questions or to their feedback. So you'll say just a quick question. You can upload a picture. Just to take you through here, you can add a question by clicking on the plus sign, just to show you that. Here at the plus sign, this is where you add a question. If you don't want this question, you can delete there at the bottom by clicking on delete. You can upload or import questions. So if you had questions prepared and ready, you can import them by selecting this tab here that says import questions. You can add a title and description to your formative assessment by clicking on add a title and description, and you can add an image, right? So I want to add an image to my question so that I have a question to show you. So you'll click on add an image, and then you can browse from your computer. You can edit by a URL. If you have a URL picture, you can go to photos and see which photos are available. You can go to your Google Drive and so forth. So I will browse my computer to see the images that I want to upload. I will go to my pictures, and I had animal cell ready, a picture ready. So you need to make sure, as I've mentioned before, that you need to prepare your questions in advance. You need to prepare your pictures or your videos in advance. So I open my picture. And there it is. So this is my picture. So you can give your picture or your image a title. So you will just say two cells. And then from there, now you can ask questions regarding this picture. So you can click on the plus sign to add a question. And then from there, you say, give the correct cell name to the following, or rather you'd say choose which cell is cell X. And then from there, you give them options. So you could say X is a plant cell, plant, and then, or X is animal cell. And then once you're there, you've selected that X is a plant cell, X is an animal cell. So now you go to answer key to select the correct answer. So you'll go to answer key, And then you'll say, okay, this is a simple question. All they're choosing is what is cell X. Cell X is a plant cell, or cell X is an animal cell. This can be 1 point. There isn't much of thinking there. And then from there, you select that, okay, cell X is, okay, what is cell X? Cell X is an animal cell. So you select animal cell, and then you add answer feedback. So when you select answer feedback, this is where you provide feedback regarding the correct answer and the incorrect answer. So on the, if a child decides to select plant cell, so now they need to, you can give them feedback by saying what, maybe to get them to think further. What is the difference between animal and plant cell? So here you are hoping that the students will remember what the difference is between animal and plant cell, and quickly go back and see, oh no, cell X doesn't have a large vacuole, which makes it an animal cell, and cell Y has a large vacuole, which makes it a plant cell, right? And also, if you want them to watch a video, you can go to the box with a video sign, and then you type the video that you'd want them to watch: animal cell versus plant cell. And then you search. And then from there, you select the video that you think would be relevant to them, so that they have a better understanding of why their answer is wrong. Or you can attach a file that explains the difference between plant and animal cell. And then the correct answer, you can decide not to give a feedback for that, or you could just say, well done, watch this video for further information. Then you attach the same video that you attached on the incorrect answer, and then you save. So this is how it looks. So now if a student get a correct answer, you'll say well done, and then it shows the video. If they get an incorrect answer, you'll say what is the difference between animal and plant cell. So you get them to think further, and then you click done. So this is how it looks with animal and plant cell. So now the question is answered. We have our key, answer key. Now we need to make it required, so that the student does not think that they can skip the question and submit the form. So we'll make it required, and from there you could shuffle the option orders if you want. You could add a description, or you can go to a session based on your answer, right? So let's just add another question just to show you another option, right? So you could say, what is the difference between plant cell and animal cell? So now when you ask them such a question, now it's up to you whether you make this a paragraph where they give you the difference between plant cell and animal cell, or you can also make it a multiple choice or a checkbox where you give the different options in terms of plant cell and so forth. So sometimes we need to find a way to make a paragraph question and turn it into a multiple choice question. So here you will answer large vacuole, and then you'll just add your answers. Chloroplast, animal, you'll say endoplasmic reticulum, and so forth. So you just need to be creative in terms of how you ask the questions and so forth. I'll just show you the answer key again, because this is the most important part with regards to formative and graded questions. Again, you will give it 2 points, and then you'll select the correct answers, and then you give feedback according to the incorrect answer as well as the correct answer. So it's always important to give feedback, hence why we give them we call them formative assessments. So as they answer, you need to give them feedback. So we just save that, and then that's how it looks, right? And then from there, once you have created your assessment and it looks good, it's important that when you create this assessment, you make sure that you have the name and surname of your students, of course. And then from there, you have their grade. If you're teaching multiple classes, 10A, 10B, and 10C. And these ones need to be a required, because you need to know their names. And this also needs to be required. There's no need to add points here, but if you want to give them points, you can do so. And then once you have done that, you could see here, it tells you like the total points. So far, the total points is 3 points. And then now you can make your formative assessment to look good, right? I did say that Google Form allows you to have graded answers. It allows you to update as they go. So how do you update as student response or adapt and change? So when you adapt and change, you can add a section. So this is when you add a section and you add questions. So now you see on section 2, it's about your questions. On section 1, it's your name and surname, just the general details about your students. Okay, and then from here, you can go to your theme if you want to customize your theme, your form. So you can go to theme, you can choose lovely images, or you can just choose an image that you have. So you can choose what's available to you, or you can upload, or you can add a photo. So now we will just choose one that's available, and then we insert, and then you'll see that at the top that the theme looks very pretty. And then you can preview how it looks. So you can click on preview. All right. So this is how it look on preview, name and surname, grade. And then you can go to the next. So obviously I need to answer a few questions just to so that you could see how it looks. So this is how it will look on your student. Your students can't go next until they answer a question. And then they go next. Okay, and then from here, they answer the question here, choose the cell, which cell is cell X. And then I will say plant cell, and then from there, what is the difference? I will choose chloroplast and animal endoplasmic reticulum, and then I will submit. So this is when you preview. So you get to see how it will look before a student answers it. And then you will view your score. So out of 3 points, I got 2. And then why did I get 2? I chose the wrong answer on the first question. And therefore, I got a feedback that what is the difference between animal and plant cell? Now I start remembering, oh no, plant cell has a larger vacuole, and therefore the correct answer was animal cell. And then on the second question, I got it right, hooray. And then when you go back to your Google Forms, you will see that you have a response. So the response is your response. So it's the response that you have. So maybe the first response would be your preview response. Got it. And then you go to your settings. So on your settings, on the general part, you'll want to, if you want them to limit to one response, you will limit them to one response. And they will have to sign into Google so that they don't do another response. So you can also give them an option to edit after they submit, or you can let them know not edit, because maybe they would have copied from a friend. And then you can collect their emails if you want. That's just up to you. And then the presentation part of it, you want to show the progress bar to the students and to shuffle the question order so that it's not in the same order in case they decide to want to copy each other. Maybe on one student, question 1 would be question 5. And then you will go to quizzes. This is where it's important. On quizzes, you can release your grade immediately after each submission, or you can release them later after you have manually reviewed their answer. And then here at the bottom, you can also check what the respondent can see. A missed question means that they identify the questions they answered incorrectly, and then the correct answers mean that they're able to see their correct answers after the grades have been released. And then the point value, they're able to see the total points and the points they have received for each question. So once you have selected your options and your settings are ready and clear, you save. Right. And then once you have saved, you can go to more options. So on more options, you can make a copy of this test and redo it again. You can delete it if you feel, no, this is not working for you, or you can get the pre-filled link. So the pre-filled link is the link that you will share with your students. So to get the link, you'll go to get the pre-filled link, and then you will scroll down there at the bottom, and you'll get the link. And then from there, you copy the link and share with your students. And then from there, you are able to print this quiz as a proof that you did give your students a quiz, or as evidence of your work. You are able to add collaborators. So you're able to work with your fellow teachers to create this quiz. If you teach the same subject, you're able to add your fellow collaborators so that you could reduce the amount of work it is required to add the questions and answers. Right, and then there's script editor if you want to edit your script, and you can also have add-ons. Add-ons are a different session altogether. Right, and you're able to send this form to via email to your student, or as an attachment, or a link, or as an embedded form, so an embedded HTML to your students' emails if you have their email addresses. All right, I've said a mouthful for now. Let me pause and find out if there is any question. Right, do we have any questions? All right, I see, Fiwe, we have answered your question. That's good. So you can incorporate your, what do you call it? Your, I was working on it where you are able to add your exams, the national exams, where you're able to use a snip tool to get pictures of the exam and then create questions using that. Oh, we have a question. You can unmute. I saw we have a raised hand. You can unmute and ask your question. Okay, I'm not too sure who raised their hand, or was it a mistake? Okay. Do we have any questions? All right. Maybe was I moving too fast? All right. Let me share my screen again. Okay, my entire screen. Right. So that's basically how you create a formative assessment. I might have moved too fast. Do let me know if I moved really fast, because I was probably flying. It was not my intention. If you do have any questions, let me know. All right. So that's how you create a question. Let me show you how to add a video onto your assessment. So now that you've added your questions, you can also go to add a question again. And then from there, you can add a video. So you add a video. And then also this is applicable. You can add a video from YouTube as well. So if you want your students to watch a video on YouTube before they can answer a question, you can just copy the link there or search for the video that you'd want them to watch. And then you search. And then you select the video. And then it will form part of your questions. So this is the video, and you can always give a title to your video. So it's animal cell. And then from there, you can add questions about the video that you have. So let's just add what is an animal cell. And then from there, you can choose your checkboxes. If you want a checkbox, you can choose your drop down. So option 1, animal cell has an endoplasmic reticulum. It has small vacuoles. Animal cells have ribosomes attached to the endoplasmic reticulum. Right. So, and then from there, always important, you go to your answer key. And then you give them 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. And then from there, you select the correct answer. Well, all of them are correct. You can just say all of above, and then you get your answer feedback. So formative assessment, important to add feedback. So you can add an attachment or a link, and then you give text to the link. So let's just quickly just find a link. And then you attach the link, and then you say, read this form for further understanding. And then you give them feedback. Read more about the, and then you save. So once the student is able to, if they get it wrong, they're able to see what they need to read so that they can have a better understanding of the question. And then you click done. So always give your section a name. So section 2, animal cell versus plant cell. Okay, there is no question here, so we delete. Okay, let me leave that. We delete this. So section 1, it's the naming. Section 2, it's animal cell versus plant cell. So this is your formative assessment. Do we have any questions? I believe I've covered everything regarding Google Forms, but if you feel there's something that I haven't covered, do let me know so that we can just show you how it is. Let me stop sharing and see if there's any question. So do we have any questions? Any feedback? All good. All right. So we have, our session was somewhat very short. Is there any questions so that we can answer the questions before we end the session? So that's how a formative assessment is. All you need to know is just to understand how to give feedback, how to grade your students, and to make sure they understand the questions that are there. They understand the quiz, and they follow through in terms of the quiz. So let me just show you. Let me share my screen. Let me show you a quiz that was created, a beautiful quiz, formative quiz that was created by my colleague, Matapelo Hume. It's a beautiful quiz that you can follow, or rather use as a guide. So this is the quiz that she created, and it's about biodiversity and classification. So what you see here is that she explains to the students that in this assessment, you will be assessed on what you learned about these following topics or subtopics. And you will see that the name and photo associated with your Google account will be recorded when you upload your files and submit this form. So she's explaining to the students that I will know who you are when you submit this form. So this is the question where you enter your name and surname. Let's just play quickly just to see how it is. Intrasafala. And then you'll choose your grade. I'm in 5C. And then from there you choose the answers. Oh Lord, I don't remember my organisms. So we'll just play around and choose whichever questions that are there. I mean, I believe there are students like that don't really know the answer and just wing it. So I will just be that student for now and wing it so that I show you how this question looks for, or this form looks for student. So we go next, and then we go to our section 2. Oh my God, I need to answer questions. So here, this is where you answer the questions. As the student answer these questions here, you will have to physically review those questions so that the students can be graded. So Google won't be able to automatically grade them. So you will have to read and grade them. And then we upload Ocean, and then you add a file. So you can select from you open, and then you upload. So what you realize here is Matapelo on her end will get my uploading you insert a file, and then I submit. So I can view my score. So now out of 34, I got 2. So the students will see that they got 2 out of 34, but now there's a final score pending. So the final score that is pending, it's because of the questions that need to be reviewed before. So this is the answers and how they look. So she'll need to review this before she can give points for the students. So this is how a formative assessment will look. Right, I hope you enjoyed that because I really enjoyed it. It just shows you that Google has um, tools that can assist us in making teaching and learning much easier.